All right, looks like we got enough here. Let's start going over bell work real fast. That's hopefully the easiest thing that we can do today. The first thing was identify whether or not the sentence below is active or passive, and then rewrite it in the opposite voice. I guess the first thing to do would be decide whether or not it is active or passive. Today, we'll try to do a couple of different things. You can certainly chat if that's the way that you want to answer. Or if you want to raise your hand, and then I will try to call on you, assuming that I can actually see enough people to call on people. We'll do exactly that. So I will unmute you if you feel so inclined. If you don't feel inclined, I'm okay with that too. Luke says passive. Luke says passive. Those of you who have your cameras on, if you want to shake your head in either yes or no, whether you agree or don't, that would be helpful for me. So I can be, oh, look at that. Nobody's moving their heads at all. Oh, this is not good. This is it. Bruh, it's active. Yeah, I know it's active. I know it's active. Luke, I'm sorry to call you out, but that's what you get for being the first in. Yeah, so this one's active voice. It's active voice. So please make sure that, you know it's active. You should rewrite it in the passive voice. That should sound something like, I don't know, the classroom door was repaired by the custodian. Simple as that. Number two is which one is the misspelled word. I'm just going to answer this one. It's abbreviate. It is spelled incorrectly. You should spell it correctly and write it on the word next to, or write on the line next to ABBREVIATE. The next one is the root and affix. Affix, I don't know. Do whatever you want to. I don't care which one. Cumulative means to add a whole bunch of things together to amass by addition. So your definition, hopefully you looked it up as well. You have the internet, it's right there. If you didn't look it up yet, then this is your moment to go and do so. It's very exciting for all of us. 5 other words that contain the root or affix. So I don't know, just off the top of my head, cumulus, ooh, like a cloud type, that's exciting. What else would be good? I don't know, I guess some other things. Derivative, like what this class is some days. And then other words too. You can figure that out. Lastly is choose a matching analogy. I know everybody's chatting at me. I understand. I'll go and look. Abbreviate, conservative, qualitative, quantitative. Look at you, Luke, with a big fix there. Adam says negative. Let's see. Let's get all these people in. Everybody else who's showing up late, thank you for joining us. Lovely to have you here. Qasim asks, hey, what's active and passive again? Hey, cool. Let's do that real fast. Active is when the subject is doing the action and the verb to the object. So if we just scroll back up here real fast. Oop, that's too far. If we scroll back down here. Oh no, I went the wrong way. Let's go back down here. Here we go. The custodian repaired the classroom door. The custodian is the one who is doing the action. So this one is active because the person at the beginning is doing the action to the thing after in that particular order. So as long as it goes that way, then it's active. The classroom door was repaired by the custodian. Hey, that's the verb. It's the Shakespeare thing. To be or not to be. Yeah. Hey, there's a was in there, and so that was is the key to make sure that you see that it's passive. All right, let's go back to the bottom. Let's go back down here. And look at the last thing, which was analogy. An analogy is a comparison between 2 different things, which is important, especially for us as we're working on things like, I don't know, metaphors and similes right now, a comparison between 2 different things. So the analogy here, when you see these usually in like SAT formation, it's a word, colon, another word, and then a double colon, so 2 dots plus 2 more dots. And then you would have to choose from the things, the different options that you see here on the screen below. As you're looking at things on the screen below, hopefully you chose A because that's the best bet. Hopefully you chose A. A is definitely the best bet. Genius. So emergency is always urgent. There's always urgency in an emergency. A catastrophe is always disastrous. A goal, not always challenged. An island, not always lonely. That's what I got for you. Number 4. So 5 different words. Nevaeh asks, "Hey, what was number 4? What were the answers to number 4?" You could say conservative, because the affix there is ative. So conservative. You could say, what were the answers that you guys already put up here? Relative. Ooh, nice one. Manipulative. Ooh, that's a nice one. Those are from Adam and from Kyla. Accumulate. That would work as well. Qualitative. All of these are good. Whatever words that you can come up with. Imperative. Affirmative. Nice. Mayhar is in the house. Julian's here, and he says appreciative. I am appreciative of that answer. Evocative. Wow, Kyla. That's right. You got the thumb. Well played. Hey, guys, Declan's about to come in, and of course, he's not going to have audio, so everybody just be cool for a second. Hey, Declan, I hope you can hear me. Okay, that's it. We're moving on. There's your bell work. If you got here late, uh-oh, be here on time, nerds. We're 8 minutes in. We got less to do. I need to bring up, let's see, I got to stop sharing here. Beep. And then I got to start sharing here. This is me in profile. Enjoy. Thank you. Oh, wow, I look terrible. I really need to do something about all of the snacks that I'm eating in lockdown. I really need to do something about that. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have a poem to deal with. Oh boy, do we have a poem to deal with. And the poem that we are dealing with today is entitled Where I'm From. I told you yesterday probably. Yeah, the poems aren't up yet, Aiden, on winterwhite.weebly.com, but they will be soon. I haven't had time to go and spend trying to do all of that. As we're looking at this poem today, what I want you to do is focus on how she is talking about herself, how she, and the poet is a she, her name is George Ella Lyon, but she is talking about her life and where she is from. And so as she is doing that, the way that she does it is not in a literal, here is where I'm from. I was born in this town and I was raised in this town and I went to this school and I went to this church and this is what I did on my weekends and blah, blah, blah. It's not that. She speaks in more figurative terms. And so as she's speaking figuratively to us, we, of course, have to do some level of decoding. I not only want to talk about that portion of this poem, but I also do want to talk about a couple of the other things that really jump out in this poem, and those are some of the sound devices. But the first thing that we got to do is we actually need to read the poem. We actually need to read the poem. So if anybody wants to raise a hand, I will get you in line so you can also read the poem, but I'll read it the first time through and make sure that we understand what we are looking at. Here we go. This is from George Ella Lyon. The poem is entitled Where I'm From. I am from clothespins, from Clorox and carbon tetrachloride. I am from the dirt under the back porch, black, glistening, it tasted like beets. I am from the forsythia bush, the Dutch elm, whose long gone limbs I remember as if they were my own. I am from fudge and eyeglasses, from Imogene and Alifair. I'm from the know-it-alls and the pass-it-ons, from perk up and pipe down. I'm from He restoreth my soul with cotton ball lamb and 10 verses I can say myself. I'm from Artemis and Billy's Branch, fried corn and strong coffee. From, hey, ladies and gentlemen, relax yourselves with trying to annotate, especially when you're not good at it. Thanks. I'm from Artemis and Billy's Branch, fried corn and strong coffee. From the finger my grandfather lost to the auger, the eye my father shut to keep his sight. Under my bed was a dress box, spilling old pictures, a sift of lost faces to drift beneath my dreams. I am from those moments, snap before I budded, leaf fall from the family tree. That did not go well. Let's try again. Those of you who are like, I can't see the poem, click on the poem and then click pin, and hopefully that will make it as big as it will possibly go on your screen, and hopefully that will be big enough for you to be able to see it. Can't make any guarantees. Having seen no hands, I guess I'll read it a second time and then we'll try to move forward. Let's see if I can do better this time. So I am from clothespins, from Clorox and carbon tetrachloride. I'm from the dirt under the back porch, black, glistening, it tasted like beets. I am from the forsythia bush, the Dutch elm whose long gone limbs I remember as if they were my own. I am from fudge and eyeglasses, from Imogene and Alifair. I'm from the know-it-alls and the pass-it-ons, from perk up and pipe down. I'm from he restoreth my soul, with cotton ball lamb and 10 verses I can say myself. I'm from Artemis and Billy's branch, fried corn and strong coffee, from the finger my grandfather lost to the auger, the eye my father shut to keep his sight. Under my bed was a dress box, spilling old pictures, a sift of lost faces to drift beneath my dreams. I am from those moments, snapped before I budded, leaf fall from the family tree. That worked better. That worked better. All right. So I see some of you are already jumping in and you've got ideas and trying to share them in terms of what you are seeing. So the first thing I want to focus on, though, as opposed to trying to break down the poem, let's try to identify a few different things that do show up in this particular poem. And so one of the things I want to focus on is going to be consonants. See if I can make this pen work today. Turn it on white. I got it. All right, and consonants is when you have repeated consonant sounds. Consonant, consonant, I can't say it. Sounds that are not vowels, huh? Oh, that's good enough. So one of the things that we're going to look for is that repeated sound. And so as we're looking at this poem, there are some different instances through here where we see, like right here, fudge in Imogene, fudge, you get that J sounding G, and the same with Imogene, you get the J sounding G in Imogene. So we see some consonants in that particular setting. We're also going to look for assonance. Let's see. And assonance, of course, is repeated vowel sounds. Repeated vowel sounds. I mean, there's got to be some in here because otherwise, why would I have done this? Oh boy, it got to be somewhere in here. Oh, Ainsley, well played. So right here we have the word long, and then right after it we have the word gone. So we've got some of those different things that are going to show up. Sorry about that. So we've got these two things, and then the one other I just wanted to bring to your attention and show you that they are present here, and certainly these are not exhaustive. It's not like we're going through all of them here. But the last one I wanted to talk about today in terms of sound devices, wow, is alliteration. And again, these are terms that you guys should be familiar with. I've already gotten a whole bunch of messages from people just freaking out, going, oh my God, ooh, what am I supposed to do? I don't know how to write a poem. Nobody's ever taught me how to write a poem. I don't know what to do. You guys know this stuff. You guys know this stuff. You guys have been introduced to alliteration over and over and over again. You guys have been introduced into metaphors over and over again. You guys know what these things are. Now it's just a matter of trying to bring them forward and actually put them in your writing. So if we're looking at alliteration, and some of you have already started to go to work for me, making my job a little bit easier, which is both good and bad. If we're looking here, we have clothespins, we have Clorox and tetrachloride. So we have alliteration that's beginning up here at the top as well. So these are some of the sound devices that I want you to be looking for as we are going through poems. And again, these are not exhaustive in this particular poem. I see some of you are jumping through the chat at this point in time and mentioning a whole bunch of different things. Pass it on, perk up, pipe down. Billy's branch. So there are some other things for us to be looking at through here that would be helpful for us to actually identify these three different sound device terms. And again, it's consonants, assonance, and alliteration. Alliteration is repeated sound at the beginning of a word, generally speaking. Assonance is repeated vowel sound, and consonants is repeated consonant sound. So a little point of review for us to just keep things going here. Let me admit some more people who are just now arriving or are re-arriving after, for some reason, leaving before. Okay, so there's that. Let's now talk about the actual meat of the poem, because again, this particular poem, I'm asking you to use this one as much as anything as a model for what we are going to do for your assignment. So the fact that this one is called Where I'm From, let's get rid of everything here. Maybe I can just hit the clear button. No. Maybe I'll just hit erase. If anybody else is in here trying to do stuff right now, stop, get out. But I'll just do it this way. Hooray, good enough. Okay, the meaning of this poem, we need to break it into several different sections so we can make sure that we understand everything. As we look in the very top of this poem, and I'm gonna mark a particular section. Actually, let's go over a couple of different things. One, who's the speaker? Who's the speaker? Type your answer into the chat box ever so quickly. Serenity has raised her hand. The poet, George, Lion, George, those are all correct. So the poet is actually speaking first person here. They are telling you that. And again, if we just look at the poem, it tells us exactly that, because it says, I am. Hey, how do we turn this first line into a metaphor? How can we turn this first line into a metaphor? How do we turn the first, it is a metaphor. I am, yeah, it's a, let's get rid of from. Let's get rid of from. I am clothespins. That makes it a direct comparison between I and clothespins. It means I am clothespins. And so that would get us directly to metaphor. So we've got that. So one of the things that I want you to think about is if you start to say something like, oh, I am this, I am that, you know, there may be reasons that you're already doing a metaphor if you're actually somewhat thinking figuratively. All right, but this first stanza, and how many stanzas do we have? Those of you who are on camera, you can hold up an acceptable amount of fingers. Three is the appropriate and acceptable amount. Those of you who are typing in, thank you. Those of you who are holding up fingers now, I think you've finally gotten to the right one. Go Team White. So yeah, 3 is the correct answer here. So we got 3 stanzas here. In the first stanza, she is talking about her childhood. She's telling you where she is from, some of the experiences of her childhood. Now, realistically, the first 3 things that we're seeing are talking about things like laundry and cleaning, right? Clothespins, Clorox, carbon tetrachloride, these are chemicals that are used to actually help clean. So she is telling us about some of the things that she did at her house. After that, she gives us this short little story. She gives us this short little story about some of her childhood experiences. I am from the dirt under the back porch. So you can see her as a kid, this is one of the things that she would do, is go and actually play. And one of the things that they would do to play is, you know, hide and seek, just like you guys have probably done, just like everybody has ever done. And one of her places to hide would have been the back porch, or at least underneath the back porch. She also does an interesting thing here in terms of punctuation, because she decides to give us a parenthetical. Now, every time I give this poetry assignment, somebody turns in a poem that has a parenthetical just like this. Don't just steal somebody else's idea and try to make it your own. You don't have to have a parenthetical in the very first stanza. A parenthetical is when you have something in parentheses. So you don't have to put something in parentheses to be like, oh, here's something that I'm trying to explain. But Yeah, that's exactly what she's talking about, is explaining what the dirt tasted like. She would climb underneath the porch and have to lay there quietly trying to hide, playing hide and seek, and she tells us exactly what the dirt actually tastes like. She goes on and gives us a little bit more about nature. Speaking of nature, haiku poems, generally about nature. You guys are somewhat, naturally occurring, but at the same time, I'm not sure you're really nature the way that haiku expects you to be nature. So those of you who are like, hey, can I turn in a haiku for my poetry assignment? My response to you is, when you go haiku, I say, not you. No, no, let's not do that. Let's do better than that. You guys can do better than that. I'm confident. Also, I don't trust your haiku writing ability. However, here we do see George gives us a rundown of some of the things that she has done here. What is she talking about this whole section? I'm from the forsythia bush. Oh, okay. She's talking about a plant in the yard. The Dutch elm, whose long gone limbs I remember as if they were my own. And so Kang says, hey, she used to hang around trees. Not just hang around trees. She probably climbed those trees. And it does seem as though now those limbs of that tree are gone. And so when she says lost gone limbs, I remember as if they were my own, it's very much like our idiom where I know this like the back of my hand. Moving on, stanza 2. I'm from fudge and eyeglasses, from Imogene and Alifair. Yeah, I got nothing. I have no idea. What do you think, Imogene? What do you think, Alifair? What do you think they are? What do you think? Women? I like that answer. Perfume? Could be. A store? Ooh, a store. Her parents? Oh yeah, it could be. Could be parents. Imogene and Alifair. Yeah, those could be parents. It could be a farm. Could be her friends. Those are all great answers. And realistically, this is one of the things that I want you to point to, or that I want to point out to you. When George Ella, when she writes this poem, some of these things are actually a little bit too specific to her. So when you're writing a poem, it needs to be specific about you, but it also needs to be somewhat universal so everybody else can understand what you're talking about. When she uses words like Imogene and Alifair, they could be a whole bunch of different things. And it makes it very difficult for us to be able to actually relate specifically to the poem. When you are writing your poem, my challenge to you is to see if you can make something that is specific to you, but at the same time, it also goes a little bit further and allows us to be able to connect. When we have something as specific as Imogene and Alifair, I think probably the fairest guess is parents. But realistically, all of the different guesses that we just talked about, they all could work here. So we want to be careful about that and make sure that we tie things closely together. I think the idea of stores makes sense, especially because on this previous line, she's talking about fudge and eyeglasses. And so maybe Imogene was the person who made fudge and Alifair was the person who sold eyeglasses. Those things all work as well. Maybe some of this is just that she's decided to put these particular sounds together. That might work just as well. But it depends on what your goal is. So if you're trying to communicate a particular message, do think about that. All right, let's talk about a couple of different lines here, because these next 6 lines, I think they actually really help us with trying to write our poems a little bit better. Because I think what George Ella Lyon has done here is really creative. It's really creative. She's found a really creative way to get to things that you and I can very easily relate to, but she's talking about them in a figurative way as opposed to a literal way. So the first bunch here, I'm from the know-it-alls and the pass-it-ons, from perk up and pipe down. The know-it-alls. If you know a know-it-all, and you do, if you know a know-it-all, where do you know all those know-it-alls? Me. Thank you, Dr. Schwartz. I appreciate that. Dr. Schwartz says, I am the know-it-all. Serenity says, I am the know-it-all. All right, you guys are all hilarious. I guess I am all knowing them, so I guess you're accurate. Okay, okay, great. It seems like you guys have figured it out already, which makes me happy. So the point that she is making here, oh, did I just mess that up? I did. Here, let's move this back. Now let's try this. This is school. Oh, the pen didn't work. The pen didn't work. Let's try again. School, school. Boy. School. Perk up. Oh, that's the kid sleeping in class. Pipe down. That's the pipe down as the person who can't be quiet. So we've got those three lines that actually talk about people at school, the pass it ons. Hey, you guys have never passed a note before, right? No, you guys don't pass notes. You just text each other during class. The next three lines. I am from He Restoreth My Soul with Cotton Ball Lamb and 10 verses I can say myself. What is she talking about here? What is she talking about here? Anybody? Church is what Adam suggests. I think that seems fair. Church, he restoreth. The fact that we have a capital H in this he should be a signal to you as well. The fact that we have restoreth, nobody talks like that except at church, right? Restoreth is one. The word soul is a key. The word lamb may be a key. Verses, all of these are certainly things that we could go, oh, they're talking about church here. I guess I'll erase that and try again. So we have school here, and we have church here. All right. The finger my grandfather lost to the auger. So it seems like he's had a finger cut off. Doesn't seem to be something that would happen, to teachers. I don't usually lose a finger to the auger. What is an auger? I'm sure somebody has gone and looked it up during our thing. Oh, I don't know. Good answer, Serenity. It's probably not the right one, but good answer. Animal is a guess. Something introduced in the office. An auger is essentially kind of it's a machine. It's a hole punching machine. Yeah, it's a drill. We could call it a drill as well. So it sounds as though she comes from a blue collar background. This is not somebody who's just sitting in an office all day. That instead, this is somebody who their family work was something that was a little bit more physical in terms of labor, or at least a little bit more blue collar in terms of labor. Perhaps they made something. But so we see that. We also see her father, he had to keep an eye shut to keep his sight. So again, depending on the type of blue collar job, this is a family that did actually engage in perhaps more difficult work. And so some of those things can be instructive on really who she is and maybe what her work ethic is and who she even maintains herself to be at this point in time. All right, so we got those lines. Fried corn and strong coffee. Does that sound like somebody who's growing up in the north or the south? South, 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 south. One person said north, but everybody else is saying south. I think that sounds right. Fried corn certainly sounds like a southern thing. Strong coffee, well, cheers. Okay, moving on. What else do we have? Oh, the entire last stanza. The last part of this last stanza is really great stuff. And again, this is one of the reasons that I want us to talk about this poem. And so as we're looking at this so I can see it well, we're going to look at these particular lines. Under my bed was a dress box, spilling old pictures, a sift of lost faces to drift beneath my dreams. I am from those moments, snap before I budded, leaf fall from the family tree. Okay, Serenity says it's about her family history. I think that's accurate. There is some reflection that is happening here. I think that's accurate as well. And there's some questions about, what the dreams were, what the family's goals were, and whether or not she's been able to achieve those. But let's stick with this one particular line, because this is my favorite line, because this is also the line that students love to misinterpret. Snap before I butted. A lot of students hear that snap before I butted, and it makes them go, oh my goodness, this is something that has been broken. This is exciting. This means, yeah, there it is already. She left her family to go for her dream. She walked away. Okay. Let me go back to this, though. Look right here. I know that arrow is off. That did not work well at all. Here, let's undo that. And let's instead just underline the word that I wanted to talk about. If I can do that. I apparently can't even do that. What's wrong with me? Some point, I'll be able to do this. So when we see the word snapped down here, we got to think about this like we're, okay, boomer. Like when we think about pictures, we're thinking about how you snap a photo. And so those of you who have gone out and gotten one of those instant cameras, you're used to snapping a photo down. Those of us who are wicked old, we're very used to snapping a photo. So when she says snapped before I butted, she's talking about actually the pictures were snapped before she became even a person. So these are old pictures. And so she uses this line to tie us right back to what she has already told us. A sift of lost faces. And again, the word lost makes people go, oh no, she's gone away from her family, or they don't talk to her anymore. But really, she's talking about that she is from all of these different things. She is from all of these different ideas and places. And the people that came before her are really the reason that she is who she is today. The fact that she could be a poet, and she was a poet laureate of Kentucky, I believe, just off the top of my head. She is somebody who achieved some notoriety in terms of being able to write her poetry. But I think what she's telling us here is, it's not her alone. The fact that she is able to do all of this is dependent on all the people who have come before her. And so that's one of the things I like about this poem. She's really great at being able to do things like what we see on the screen in blue right now. She's able to talk about things that we can all identify with, that we can all relate to, but she's able to do it in a figurative way and make sure that we're able to get to the same place as her. Now, one of the things that maybe doesn't exactly ring true for us is because we're not from Kentucky, we may not know Imogene and Alifair. Maybe those are cities. Maybe those are towns in Kentucky. Artemis and Billy's Branch. Again, are those cities? Are those people? I don't know. It's hard to say. So we have a little bit of disconnect in those particular areas. So when you are writing your poem, and again, this is your jumping off point, a poem that's about you, the experiences that you know, the way that you have lived, the people around you, the things that you enjoy to do, and those things that really help you identify as this is who I am, this is what I am. This is what I want you to focus on. So as you start to work on your poems, please think about this particular poem. Okay, so I got a whole bunch of questions. People are asking me technical questions about what do we do? How do we do this? Where do we do this? Okay. Let me just give you an overview, and I'll make sure that this is written into a post on Edmodo as well. But a couple of different things. One, I want you to just start writing. You can write it on paper to begin with, and then figure it out later and turn it into a text document. I said word in I guess the assignment. I said the word, and people started going, wait, I don't have word. Okay, it doesn't have to be word. If you do it in Word, or if you do it in like Google Docs, or if you do it in Office 365, or if you do it, whatever works, you can send it to me in an email. If you're going to write it on paper and then snap a picture of it and send it to me, I'm not as excited about that, but if that's what we've got, that's what we've got. We'll do whatever we need to make sure that we can actually be successful here. The poem is due on Friday, but the understanding is this is not great. What we're going to do is try to find a diamond in each of these poems, so there's something that we can actually build off of. Those of you who need assistance, send me a message. Send me a message and say, hey, I don't know exactly what to do. Send me a message and also send me something that you've written, because then we can sit down and we can do a teleconference and I can put your poem up here instead of George L. Lyons. And then we can talk about, here's what's good. Here's what's not great. Here, let's try to take this and make it somewhat better. So remember, haiku, not you. No, not you. Write a poem about yourself. Email it to me. Send it to me. If you want to have a conference, let me know. I'll be glad to set those things up with you. It can be a PDF. It can be an email. It can be a Word. It can be whatever. In the meantime, same stuff as usual. Big three. Be kind to each other. Help each other out if you're getting confused. Be kind to family. And be kind to yourself. I'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll do this again. All right. Talk to you.